Good morning, algebra. Here's our do now. Friend gave a Ziploc full of gum to Brandy, and she decided to share it equally with her mom. So how many packs of gum will each of Brandy and her mom get, and how many sticks of gum will each of them get? You can hit pause while you think about it. I know it's a head scratcher. All right, well, altogether there were 6 packs to begin with, so if they're split evenly, 3 packs each, and out of those original 8 sticks, each of them will get 4. Well, today we're looking at simplifying expressions again, and our learning target today is to be able to simplify an expression using these two things, distribution and combining like terms. So distribution, today we will include another operation, which will be division. We've seen multiplication and subtraction. We saw that before, and so we're going to just add one more operation, and then we'll still be combining like terms after we distribute. So here's our first example. Let's go back to the problem from the do now. In the original Ziploc bag, there were 6 packs. I'm going to call that 6A. I don't know how many sticks are in the pack, so it's a mystery number. So I'm just going to use that variable as a label to say, hey, this is talking about packs. And then there were 8 individual sticks of gum. Each of those just represents 1. So if there's 8 of them, we'll just say it's plus 8. And since Brandy has decided to divide everything there between the 2 of them, between her and her mom, just take that whole thing and divide by 2. So in algebra, most of the time when we see division, we're going to see it written with this divide line rather than the other ways we could write division, which would be the long division symbol or the divide symbol like this, right? That all means the same thing, but in algebra we typically see it written with that line. And with the line, there is an implied group. Everything above this division line is being grouped together, just like in that Ziploc bag. As you can see right through it, we know there's a Ziploc bag there, right? So anything that's on top of that fraction line or division line is grouped together, and we'll have to divide all of those terms by 2. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is divide both of those terms by 2. So I got a 6A, that'll need to be divided by 2. And I also need to divide the 8 sticks of gum by 2. A lot of times people will just divide the first number and then they forget to do anything else, and that's like the most common error. So we got to make sure to divide each term by 2. So Brandy and her mom, each of them are going to get 3 packs and 4 sticks, just like you already said in the do now. But this is what it looks like in an algebra expression and how we do that division. Okay, well, sometimes we're going to see things written as a fraction. I know in the past you've probably learned that a fraction is one thing and a division is a different thing, and it's not really true. Really, a fraction is division. This is the same thing. It's kind of a specialized way of dealing with division, but they're the same. So when we have a problem involving a fraction like this one, 1/3, and then your group, 1/3 being multiplied by the group 6x plus 12, we have 2 options. All right, so let's look at option number 1. We could just say, you know what, this is a fraction. I need to multiply that fraction into the parentheses, and we could do that just like we saw before with multiplication. So I'm going to take the 1/3, distribute it onto the 6x, and then also distribute it onto the 12. A little bit of mental math. 6 times 1/3 gives me 6x over 3. And for the purple arrow, 12 is going to multiply into the numerator. 12 times 1 is 12, so I get 12 over 3. Simplify each of those fractions. 6x over 3 is the same as 2x. 12 divided by 3 gives me 4, so I got 2x plus 4. Okay, we're going to get the same answer, but here's second option. Option number 2 is, rather than taking the whole fraction and distributing it, I can take the group and multiply it onto the top of the fraction. So I can take the 6x plus 12, that whole group, multiply it onto the numerator, and that is going to give me, multiplied by 1, it's going to give me the 6x plus 12 will stay the same. So I get 6x plus 12 on the top. That whole thing divide by 3. So really, I can take the fraction and make it, rewrite it as a division problem. So now I divide 6x divided by 3 to give me 2x in green. 12 divided by 3 gives me the plus 4 there in blue. Same answer, 2 different ways of kind of describing the process, whatever works better for you. Hey, well, speaking of fractions, here's a different fraction. We're going to do the same process. We still have these two options. Option one, take that fraction and distribute it. If you're comfortable with fractions and you want to just take the 3/4 and multiply it by 8z and then multiply it by 16, this is the option for you. So the 8z times 3, that numerator is going to give me the 24z over 4 in red. Follow the purple arrow, 3/4 times 16. 3 times 16 is 48, so that's my numerator, 48 over 4. Simplify both of those to get 6z plus 12. Option number 2, take the group in parentheses, multiply it onto the numerator. So just multiply everything by 3. That's going to give me 8 times 3 is 24z, and the 16 times 3 will give me that plus 48. All of that group divided by 4. So really, it's like taking that fraction. Here's what's happening. I'm going to take that fraction in the original problem, the 3 divided by 4, and I'm just making it into 2 steps. First, multiply the whole group by 3, then divide the whole group by 4. So I've done the multiplying by 3. Now I just divide both of those terms by 4. So 24z divided by 4 gives me the 6z. 48 divided by 4 is 12. Same answer, two different ways of thinking about it or describing it. Doing it with fractions, taking the fraction apart and do a multiplication and then a division step. All right, well, what if we've got a problem where there are multiple steps? 12z plus 16 is grouped. That all gets divided by 4. And then there's the minus 9z minus 6. So what I just highlighted in yellow, that is my group. And there are no parentheses, but the division line is a way of grouping things together. I need to start there. That whole group gets divided by 4. So the group gets divided by 4. My order of operations says that division happens before subtraction or this other subtraction. So division is the first thing I need to do. So I'm going to take the two numbers, the two terms there in the top part, divide them each by 4. 12z divided by 4. That'll be 3z. 16 divided by 4 gives me 4. Bring down the minus 9z, bring down the minus 6. Combine like terms. I've got 3z here and minus 9z there. That'll give me the negative 6z. And the two constants, positive 4 minus 6, gives me negative 2. Right. So some different types of operations we need to categorize. So this is division and that one is subtraction. Follow your order of operations. We have to divide first. Okay, so I've given you lots of stories with gum. Here's a different way of illustrating what is going on with the problem. Any kind of problem you can do this with. It's called algebra tiles. So just have some different shapes. You could imagine like in real life, you could actually have some tiles. You could lay them out on your table and illustrate the problem based on how many x's and what the numbers are and stuff. I'll just draw them with these little pictures to represent different types of terms, different objects, right? So just to make it physical so we can actually see it. So I got 8x minus 24. That group is going to be divided into 4 parts, and then I add 7. So here's my illustration. I'm going to start with 8 x's. So each one of those little rectangles represents 1 x. So I need to have 8 of them. There's 8 x's. You could think of it like packs of gum. There's 8 packs of gum. And then for negative numbers, just use a different color. So up in the key at the top, positives and negatives have a different color. So I'm going to use those red squares to represent negative numbers, just like we had the red gum wrappers to represent the negative gum sticks the other day that were empty. So I got the negative 24 red blocks there. Each of those needs to be divided by 4. So I've just circled them and written divide by 4. I'm going to separate those into 4 separate groups. And then at the end, plus 7. So the blue squares are positive numbers. Okay, so let's look at these groups. If I'm dividing by 4, I need the groups to be equal sized. And so I can circle my little groups. So there's 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups. So if I divide into 4, it's going to be just 2 of them making up the group. And with these red squares, I've got those separated into 4 equal groups also. So the division, so I can get this all to fit on one screen, out of the green circle, that part of the group, I had 8 x's divided into 4. It gives me 2 of those x blocks. The 24 red blocks, I divide that into 4 groups, and each of the groups would have 6 of those little red squares, and then plus 7 at the end. All right, my last step would be to combine like terms with the algebra tiles. The little squares, the red squares, the blue squares, those are like terms. They're both little squares. The opposite colors, they're gonna like cancel each other out. Like positives and negatives, like they add together to make 0. So I'm just looking for little pairs that I can make combine to get 0. A negative one and a positive one would add to make 0. Negative and positive make 0. Negative, positive, negative and positive, negative and positive. And then there's one positive left over right there. So my final answer is going to be these 2 x's plus the 1. Right? So 2x plus 1. Okay, if I see that now written from a perspective of the expression, started off with 8x minus 24, that whole group, divided by 4, plus 7. Divide first. 8x divided by 4, negative 24 divided by 4. Okay, 8 divided by 4 is 2, so I get 2x. Negative 24 divided by 4 is negative 6. Plus 7 doesn't change. Identify like terms. I got some constants, the negative 6, the positive 7. Those are both the same type of number, negative 6 plus 7. Combine that to get positive 1. So 2x plus 1. I can illustrate it with algebra tiles. I could illustrate it with packs of gum. I can just do the algebra expression. No matter how I understand it, think about it, model it, I'm going to come up with the same thing. Divide first, combine like terms afterwards.